That's
Um,
okay.
okay. Well, it's good to see you all. Thank you for this opportunity to present a potential well, a rezoning that we've put together
We
the
don't see you,
application
Mike.
for, and
Mike, we
you don't
don't
see
see.
me.
Uh-uh.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, but we don't see you.
Okay, let me see here. Let me try one more time. Let's see. Okay. Oh yeah.
There you go.
I gotcha.
Okay.
There we go. All righty. Great. So yes, I'll start over. This is Mike Mishkati with Blue River Development. We're a Southeast regional developer and home builder based out of Atlanta. We've been in the business for, depending on which individual you're talking to, over 20 plus years, doing development in Metro Atlanta, Florida, Huntsville, Alabama, Greenville, Charlotte, North Carolina, Nashville. Atlanta is home base. A lot of us have worked for large private developers and home builders, many of which you would know the names of. And South Fulton has always been a great place to develop and build homes, whether it was with John Wheeland Homes or Meritage, and a number of others. I'm sure some of them you like, some of these folks you're probably neutral on, and I'm sure there's a whole myriad of that. But happy to have this opportunity to present this opportunity for rezoning of property at Enon Road and Van Diver Road. I can try and share my screen here. Let's see. Here we go. Are you all able to see this Google map right now? This aerial?
We can see it.
Okay, great. Okay. So just for perspective, here's 285. We've got Camp Creek here. And probably about, I think this is probably right around 4.5 miles west of 285 and Camp Creek Marketplace. We have this property here. The gentleman who's owned it has owned it since, I believe, 2007. We're very close to Westlake High School. As you see, there is no access between this site currently and the high school. I mean, this being the back of the high school as well. We don't foresee that being the case, but we're close and what we would consider walkable to the school. And we are just north of Wolf Creek Golf Course and just northwest of the amphitheater and the library. What I have a zoning application put together. I'm happy to send out the application. It's itemized, all in PDFs with everything that has been submitted to the city, but placed on hold subject to this meeting and a meeting next week with the essentially a neighborhood focus group who we've been working with over the course of the past year on the direction of this project. We had a couple conversations with some folks in the Sandtown overlay district. We wanted to wait till we got the project to this real point before presenting it to you. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now that you know where the project's located. This is about 50 acres, by the way. 50 acres right here in the center of the site, and you'll see more of this when I go to the site plan, is a lot of wetlands, floodplain, and a creek that kind of bifurcates or splits this site. Let's see here. Let's pull up the site plan for you. And then I have a number of proposed zoning conditions that we were proactive on based on our conversations with the neighborhood through several meetings that we've had over time. We arrived at this site plan and a number of zoning conditions, which I'm glad to discuss with you today. initially this plan, this property, and some of you may remember this, some might not. It has a zoning on it and a future land use that you could go to. The zoning ordinance would be mixed, MIX, which allows for significant density and a commercial component. So this thing has been presented as something along the lines of a 350, 400 unit multifamily project in the past over the course of let's call the time frame somewhere 3 to 4 years, to no avail. Then it came back as around a 225 unit, I believe all townhome deal or high density project. Then we started to work on it, and we were started at around 200 units, then back down to 185. And now we're sitting here on a plan with 151 units. The property is zoned R3 currently, which allows roughly for 3 units per acre. You don't always get those 3 units per acre because, of course, you're putting in infrastructure like roads, utilities, detention ponds, and amenities. But regardless, zone for R3 right now, we've got 151 units on 49.25 or so acres. Yep, here we go. This is the development summary chart. What we have proposed is 40, because of the nature that there are a lot of existing, what we would call existing conditions on the site that are ecologically sensitive, which we are not encroaching on, with the exception of a small encroachment here on a stream buffer. But we are not getting in these areas and disturbing a lot of dirt, other than maybe 3 or 4 lots right here. And we are only encroaching a few feet. My engineer is on the call. My engineer planning, Mike Kaponsky, is on the call with us as well. So if we get to some more technical questions about things of that nature, he can step in and answer. So you've got 40 single family detached units here. These are 52 by 110 to 120 feet deep. They accommodate a 40-foot single family detached product, which is very typical of what you see out there today, right? Is, you're usually seeing a 40-foot wide to 50-foot wide product typically. On the eastern side of the property, we have this is alley loaded product. So these units will front in road here, giving it a nice, it's a nice streetscape that way. We're going to be putting in sidewalks, street trees. It's going to have a nice sense of arrival. And you'll be looking at the front of the units. You can come out of the front of the units on your property onto the sidewalk out onto Enon Road in the right of way. And the same goes over here on Van Diver Road. These units are 20-foot wide alley loaded product, and then 24-foot wide front entry product. Square footage ranges will be anywhere on the townhomes from 1,500 to upward of 2,000 to 2,400 units. We don't know what the square footages will be, but we do know what the exteriors are going to look like, and I'll touch on that here soon. And I want to kind of give you this briefing and then open it up for questions, of course, but I want to be thorough up front so that you all know what we've got. Then the single family detached we discussed. What we've got is amenities here. We've got pickleball courts, a pool, cabana, fire pit, and a playground as well for the kids. Being in a great school district, we want to make sure that we can provide housing to, whether it's young professionals and young families to more mature families, whether they're different customer profile groups, I guess you would describe, but we're offering a range here. So you have 3 different price points. You'd be starting in the mid 300s on a 1,500 square foot unit, around in that range. I mean, we can't commit to price because nobody Development costs are very high. That's the horizontal construction component of the site, and they move around a lot. They track towards diesel fuel. They track towards they track towards the cost of lumber. There's numerous things that impact what goes on with the cost of a home. So when asked, where are you guys going to be priced? It's very difficult, but I would say these smaller units will start in the mid threes, call it 320 to 350. Then the next largest townhome will track towards the high threes and fours. That's what we're predicting. It could be slightly lower, could be slightly higher. We don't know what's going to happen again with labor and materials. And then the single family homes will start in the fours. Now, if somebody is to go out and opts to build a 3,000 square foot home, right? That home is going to track into the, mid fives, upwards of $600,000. It's just size is going to determine in a lot of cases where your closing price will be on a home. But essentially, this is tracking to about $185 to $200 a square foot on price, which is strong and warranted in this submarket. The last thing I'll do is I'll show you the proposed zoning conditions that we came up with. Let's see here. Okay. Okay. So this is where we're at as of today. You have 151 dwelling units, 40 of which are on a 52-foot wide by 110-foot lot. Some of the lots are deeper. 20-foot front setback, that allows for you to park, 2 cars in the driveway. 20-foot rear setback. This is your building box. Then you have 40, 24-foot by 50-foot wide front entry townhomes. And you have 71, 20 by 46 rear entry townhomes. The amenities: swimming pool, cabana, 2 pickleball courts, a fire pit, picnic tables, playgrounds, and you have dog parks and pocket parks, a couple sprinkled throughout the neighborhood. Architectural materials, we wanted some flexibility on this because a lot of buyers today aren't looking for the all brick traditional home. Some people like a more contemporary farmhouse look. But after numerous discussions with folks regarding this site, we kind of reached a conclusion that brick was a very important component. So, on the first story and sides of the units, there'll be brick as well. The second story could be brick, stone, cement fiber, hardy plank siding, or cement fiber, hardy plank shake siding. The rears, there is a multitude of material mixes that could be used. Heavier materials always sit on the bottom of the home, and you move to the lighter materials at the top. So we're looking at the same materials that would be on the front and sides for the rears. We are going to donate and deed over land for a roundabout at the intersection of Enon Road and Van Diver. I do think it's important to note, I'm switching back to the plan, that with regard to traffic and traffic flow, we have put 2 entrances out on Enon Road so that you don't have a lot of traffic here. I think that was a big concern for folks. This is where ultimately the roundabout will go. We've had discussions with South Fulton DOT regarding this. Again, we would make a donation to per home, 151 homes times $500 for the construction of that roundabout. Let's see here. Right. Here's the donation component. There's going to be sidewalks on Van Diver, but the way the plan works, you can't put sidewalks where the stream goes under the road because you would have to get into these ecologically sensitive, unfavorable. You try to avoid that. At each point of ingress and egress, at every entrance, exit, there's going to be entrance monumentation. Sidewalks on both sides of the road inside the neighborhood. And Mike Hoponsky, please feel free to step in and correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, but there may be a couple spots where we get pinched where you can't put sidewalk in, and that's why I make that comment to Mike. Sidewalks will be installed along Enon Road as well. And we're going to stagger the single family units where costs allowed. That is not good wording. It essentially means where the lots in the site make it feasible. It's hard to ship units front and back and in and out when you may not have the space. And that a lot of that is a function of the dirt. It's not a function of how dense we are. It's more a function of how the dirt works and how the site is graded. The fencing along Van Diver will be kind of a decorative or equestrian style fencing. And so it's going to have a nice, appealing look along that road. That's the long and sweet of it. I'll pull up the site plan here, and I'm open to any questions you all might have.
Well, I have a question. So,
yes, ma'am.
Looking at the townhomes and you have the alley, when I lived in Dallas, we had alleys in our home on single family homes. Will the trash pickup be in the alley? Is that how will they be able? Huh?
That's a great question. Mike, how do you think the trash? Yeah, these alleys here, Mike, if you'll step in and provide some color on the width of the alleys. I'm not going to start throwing out numbers about the width, but whether they accommodate a trash truck, a dumpster truck, and how
the one that we had in Dallas, you couldn't get two cars down the alley at one time, and you had to enter. I think the trash pickup entered a certain. They came up in a certain way, and then we would have on the outside of our fence, we would have the things where our trash cans were, and they would, and they would dump them, and we never had to roll it out to the front of the community, which was great.
Yes, Mike has done a number of these neighborhoods in South Fulton and knows what the best protocol is, I think.
All right. Now, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are you doing today? My name is Mike Ponsky. I'm with Ridge Planning and Engineering. To answer your question, these alleys are designed for 20-foot wide. It used to be standard to do 16-foot, but the fire department has since stepped in most jurisdictions, and usually you don't get less than a 20-foot back-to-back, back curb, or drive it. It's 20-foot drivable surface. Just to put in perspective, normal roads in a smaller neighborhood in South Fulton, I believe, are 24-foot back-to-back. So it's only about 4 foot narrower than a standard street through probably your neighborhood that you live on today. So to answer your question, yes, garbage trucks can navigate through these alleys. And that's because everything is sized for fire trucks. So garbage trucks are definitely smaller.
Okay. Well, I hope they can do that. I don't know how you make that happen, but that'll keep a lot of trash cans from being on the front, since it's kind of a condensed area with the number of units. It would just make it cleaner and neater if they could go down the back side with the trash cans on the back.
Yeah, and in some cases they put a carousel or area for that. So you would, for example, you can see my cursor here between units, 71 and 72. This would be the spot where people could, you would spread it. Some of this stuff is determined by the HOA, how they want trash and placed and managed. That's certainly something we can explore. In some cases, you don't like to put too many restrictions on this stuff because up front, because someone may have a better solution. But more than likely, it's going to be one of these types of options. They're going to traverse down the alleyway. The trash cans will be put in a carousel type area, or just be right here,
Yeah.
at the end of your driveways off the rears of the units.
So so you got rear entry, so the garages are on the back, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yeah, you see these units right here, they're going to front the street, right? So you're going to be seeing the fronts of the units rather than any garages here. You're going to be seeing the fronts of the units, people's front doors, their windows. It's going to have a nice kind of look. A lot of people like to reference, the kind of older towns, and like Charleston, for example, or Inman Park, or where everything kind of fronts the road, so people can walk out of their homes and kind of interact with, just be active almost immediately.
Right.
Kind of activates the neighborhood.
Right.
And it looks and it's a nice streetscape.
Yes, it will. Oh, how beautiful. Let's see. Don't let me hog up the time. Anybody got any other questions?
Yes, this is Councilwoman Rao. Quick question. Was there any discussion with the community about whatever initial covenants that are developed, that they have a cap on the number of rentals that can be in a community? Lock the door.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And that is a good point. I'm going to take note to that. Well, we won't propose anything. We think that council is going to do that, like with a high degree of confidence, right? That discussion has been had with Councilwoman Gomes and a number of other folks, and the neighborhood focus group, that we don't want to see a lot of investor-owned rental units, so that will be capped. There's probably a number. Mike may even know off the top of his head, out of the most recent zonings he's done, whether it's 10% or 15% or 20%. There's going to be a limitation set, and that limitation will then be applied to the CCRs, the covenants and restrictions of the neighborhood.
The cap on rentals, how is that enforced?
So, Mike, you don't have, when are you all going to have the design of what the units on the single and in the townhomes will look like? Do you have that?
I do not right now, because it's, what I can do is what I will do, what I plan on doing, and I'm happy to share this with you all, and I can do that here soon. That's been, folks have asked several times about that, and rightfully so, is provide flavor elevations, right? We ultimately right now, when we think about something like this, right, we're going to have to rezone the property. That's going to take time, right? We've submitted, but the submittal is on hold for having this meeting with you all, and then another meeting with the focus group. I'll give you all my contact information. You have it via the email anyway, but you'll have my contact information for any questions. I will provide a link to the submittal and the application that you all can go through, and you can look at all the documents. I've got it organized in such a fashion that you should easily be able to click through all the different items. There's probably about 18 different items that you have to put together. And what I will do is put together flavor elevations to show you what this will look like, but ultimately, color palette, locations of windows, the amount of glazing and fenestration, will change, but it will not be significantly different than what I share with you.
Okay.
I have Debbie. Can you hear me?
Sure. Yes.
I apologize. I'm late to the meeting. I was out, but anyways, I'm glad I did tune in to find out. In terms of the percentage or number of rental units, who's going to enforce that? I mean, something that you've already asked, and he's talking about for rendering. He's talking about something in the future. It seems to me that as long as this has been on the discussion list, that there are some things that should be known. And to me, the percentage or number of the units that are going to be rental should be known, and also who's going to enforce that.
Okay, so that is a complicated question in that it is typically upon the HOA, right? Much like it is in your neighborhood, depending on what type of neighborhood you live in, right? If your neighborhood
I
has
don't
an
live in a
HOA,
subdivision, so.
okay, all right. Well, so this is how, if you did, how it would work is there, there would be the neighborhood HOA, and they would be the regulatory body, an enforcer. And if those requirements weren't being met, then they would go to the city to request support for enforcement. Those kind of things are hard to determine whether or not essentially your HOA would have to be tracking ownership, right? They'd have to recognize, okay, this person has come in and purchased this home, right? And then at some point in time they move out, right? Does the ownership change when somebody new moves in? Because if the ownership does change, then it's likely tied to that new homeowner. If the ownership doesn't change on, the tax assessor's website, right, or GIS, the county informational site, if it doesn't change, and it usually takes anywhere between 30 to 90 days for a county or city to update that information, or it can take that long. Some do it faster, to update that information. So this is a function of tenacity of your HOA and homeowner awareness. And now with respect to the percentage, again, the percentage typically, what I don't want to do is tell you what mayor and city council are going to determine. This is a decision they make, and it's atypical of a developer to come in and put that rental restriction on themselves, because they don't ultimately, council is going to determine what they want, and likely the staff could potentially make that recommendation.
Okay, I have a question. I wonder if the councilwoman knows the percentage that the city of South Fulton allows in terms of the percentage of units that can be rented. Does she know that? If she could, would she please answer that?
We don't have that in code. We don't specifically have that in code, but there have been instances when working with the developer in the community that we, addressed it.
Okay, so actually this property could be 50% rental, is that correct? Or even 100% rental? I mean, that's a possibility too. Am I correct in assuming that possibility?
No, I mean, we haven't had that. We introduced the ordinance to address the 100% rental single family. And that's why it's really important that those conversations that they've had over the last year with community, that they get something that everybody can live with. That's the best scenario. And it's worked out pretty well. As you know, you participated in a number of these meetings, and we try to use these conversations and to listen as council members, so that when we get to the point to consider the case, we have a number of conditions on the project.
Yes, and I'm happy to add some elaborate on that. I think there's a typical range. It's usually between 10, 15, 20% is the range. And the reason you need to have flexibility there is because imagine you own a home, you have to move for work, right? And a mortgage is, as we all know, especially today, housing is expensive. It's very expensive. And it's hard because of labor and materials, because of horizontal construction costs, because of vertical construction costs. And so imagine if you end up having to move for your livelihood, for work, for your family, whatever it be, and then you're having to carry your mortgage payment and then also your next mortgage payment or your rental when you move to whatever new place it is. What provides relief is the opportunity for you to get paid on your investment and alleviate some of that burden. So, you're not 0%. That's atypical. So again, I think we're happy to further have that discussion. If there is a number that is determined by council, we're going to respect and abide by that. Obviously, in the meeting next week with the focus group, I've taken some notes here, about trash cans, about the rental cap, about providing the flavor elevations. Like, I will bring that up in the discussions and and see what they want. But what I can tell you is 0% is
I have another question.
just
I
as
don't
a
know if it,
sense.
oh, wait a minute, let's see. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not sure if, okay, I know that Miss Ingram and Miss Barrett had been a part of what was going to be developed up there on the corner of Vanderbilt and Enid. Are they aware of this meeting tonight? Because I said I'm late coming in, so I didn't know whether they were on this call or not.
I'm not. I'm 100. I'm not 100% sure, because what I focused on is that we have a meeting with them next week.
Well, you don't think
I
that
think
you
they're
should
doing.
have, because I know they were a part.
Well, they can see, they know that, I mean, we advertised that they were going to be at our meeting today. And so it's on the website, and they all know that we meet on the first Thursday of every month. So we've advertised that they were coming, and I think Councilman Gums has also done some advertisement that they were coming to the meeting. But like he said, he is meeting. It sounds to me, based on what I'm hearing, that Mike, you've been meeting with the folk on Vanderbilt and Enid, right? And you
Yes.
got a meeting
Yes, ma'am. We have
scheduled with
met.
them next week.
Yes, we're going to meet with them again next week, and that would
Okay.
be. We had the public participation meeting. We had that. Now that is outside, which many of the members of the focus group were part of that. Then we have met with them, I believe, 3 times up to this point, and that will be the 4th time. Will be next week. The 3rd or 4th time. I don't want to be inaccurate in this, but there has been a lot of information exchange. There's also been a number of emails too. The only communication has not been via these in-person meetings. There've also been emails exchanged and ideas exchanged and noted. And a lot of these proposed conditions that you see, a lot of the reduction in yield was driven by them. I think they're, and so a lot of again, the proposed conditions with respect to finishes of the homes, orientation of the homes, the amenities. There was originally, for the owner, there was a piece of commercial here, which was very important to them. And there was a hard push to not have a commercial parcel here, which was part of the MIX designation that I was talking about. Right now, we are submitting as a PUD instead, which in many ways acts similar, but we removed the commercial component because that was a very big deal to them. So that's another thing that we've done. The fencing, some of the streetscape oriented items, a lot of what you see here has been driven by them.
So the zoning is going from a mixed use development to a R3.
Well, no, it is currently an R3. It is going to go to what is called a PUD.
Okay.
Yes.
Which,
yeah, and the reason we did that is because if it was suggested by our attorney, and we ran it up the ladder with the city as well, that if we are to, now that we've removed the commercial component, because that's what the neighborhood wanted, now that we remove the commercial component, we'd have to come in and request a variance to vary out of the commercial component. And that is, that's a pretty big ask, and the much better path is to go with a PUD. And you essentially get the same result without having to.
What does that acronym stand for?
I believe it's planned unit development. Mike, is that correct?
That's
That is
correct.
correct.
Okay.
So my question, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so my question is that did I understand you to say that you will be meeting with the focus group, whatever it is, from Vanderbilt Road next week? Is that?
Yes, for the 3rd or 4th time, and there have been numerous emails exchanged. They have a package that they put together that we read through. We looked at that talks about the history of the neighborhood, talks about what they'd like to see, talks statistical analysis, demographics analysis, all things of that nature. There have been a lot of ideas exchanged, and there's been a lot of communication. So what you are seeing is a function of that. And yes, we are meeting next week.
If I'll go ahead, Ivory.
If that focus group includes Ms. Ingram.
It certainly does, Dr. Ingram, as well as Ms. Washington, who I believe was a former sheriff or police officer, and numerous other people. You know, most of the meetings have involved. You know, there are kind of 6 to 8 gatekeepers, I would say, who are really the voice of the neighborhood. But there's a lot of other there have been other folks who have popped in and out throughout this whole process and asked questions.
I'll be done.
I'm sorry.
We can't hear you, Ivory.
Huh?
We can't hear you.
I think I heard them say, wait a minute.
It sounds
Sidewalk.
like.
I'm not sure what's going on. Okay. Yeah, are you asking a question, ma'am, or?
I think she's getting it. It sounds like all the people that she knows that's on that corner whose houses will be near that development you've been engaged with. Ivory, I think that's what you're asking.
Right.
I know Miss Ingram was on the call last month, and he said she was engaged. So I think the team of people who've been watching this corner, you know, we had another developer that wanted this corner, and I think all the people are engaged with him. And based on what Mike has said is that because of that engagement, this is what they have come up with.
Okay, but then my next question, it'll be my final question, is you mentioned a sidewalk. How far down Vandiver Road from Enon will the sidewalk be?
It's only going to be how this typically works is it's only going to be along the frontage of our neighborhood. That's how these are done. Now, what we did state is that the $500 that we donate per lot here, you know, so you got 500 times, 151 units here. That money could be used for a roundabout or extension of sidewalk further west down Vandiver Road. You know,
Ivory, I don't think you were on the call when he said they're donating. They've been working with DOT to put a roundabout at Vandiver and Enon for traffic, and they are donating $150 times 500 units for the cost of the roundabout for traffic calming measures in the area, which is one of your pet peeves. And what he's saying now is that it's up to y'all if you want to use it for a sidewalk or a roundabout. My opinion is traffic calming, but that's something that you should join the committee, Ivory. If you're not part of that committee.
I have been on the committee at one time, but I'm not now. But my concern is I don't know how far out that roundabout is going to be, but I hope that they take in consideration that hundreds of cars going to Westlake High School and the buses come that way. So I don't know.
So a roundabout to me would be the better thing, but y'all decide.
It's already been decided.
I don't see 50 and 60, 100 buses navigating a roundabout that well. I don't, but hey, what do I know?
Well, they navigate the one at Boat Rock pretty well.
I do want to share that the council at the meeting before last approved the project to bring the traffic calming, as you said, that includes a roundabout to this area. I think the project is, I know it's over $3 million. So the funding has already been in place to address that congestion coming off of Vandiver from Westlake.
That's
okay,
great.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you sharing the information.
Great. Do we have any other questions? So, it sounds to me that you and the community are very much engaged and with the project. So my question is, once you get through all of this part,
Yes.
when do you anticipate construction starting?
So, yeah, and so once we reach consensus with the focus group and and then once again, we'll share the rest of the information. I will circle back with
Okay.
what was meeting minutes after next week, after the meeting next week. We will then have to go before council. Well, before planning commission first, and then mayor and city council. That process has its own time cycle, which could be, it varies. There is no, I don't have, right now, the council has a lot that they have to address. So, the docket for these meetings fills up, right? And so sometimes they're not going to have 100 items on the agenda. So I don't know exactly when we will be on the calendar, but let's just say that we go to planning commission over the course of the next 2 to 4 months, we're able to present. We hope it's sooner, by the way, but over the course of the next 2 to 4 months, and then we go to mayor and city council, and it all goes swimmingly well, right? Then we will get into, so call that March, April timeframe. Okay. And these are all estimates. I cannot speak for what's going to happen, right? But let's just say it's March, April. Then Mike has to get into the really hard work. Mike Kaponsky is, it takes anywhere between 60 to 90 days to produce construction documents, which is how the dirt's going to be pushed around, where the utilities are going to go, how we're going to cross these easements, just the whole entire design of the neighborhood. We submit that to the city, and there's an iterative process. They provide comments, we respond to the comments, we address them, then we resubmit. Then they provide another round of comments, and we resubmit, and then again. And that process can take, anywhere between, on its own, 4 to 12 months, right? And then at that point in time, what has happened once all comments have been addressed and everybody's happy, a land disturbance permit is issued where you can come out and commence construction. All right. So just call that a year from now. Let's just say a year from now, we commence construction. You usually don't start construction in the winter. You probably wait until late February. Right, you start setting limits of disturbance, you start going out there and getting to work, and so then that process takes anywhere between 6 to 9 months, and then you have to final plat. You go out, you survey everything, and you submit that to the city, and that has its own cycle between 4 to 9 months. Okay, so you're looking at 2025, right, before you see homes going up. It's a long process, and rightfully so. It's a big deal to get out there and construct something of this magnitude, and so it needs to be done the right way.
Okay, cool. Any other questions for Mike from anyone? I don't see anything in the chat. Does anybody have anything else?
Again, how wide did he say the streets would be?
We were talking about the alleys.
Yeah.
The alleys, he said, would be
20 feet.
21. Didn't you say 21?
It'll be 20 feet.
20 feet. That's the alleys, not the front streets.
The front streets, the main roads are 50-foot right of way, right?
Yeah.
And Mike, how much of that is paved? 24, 26 feet?
24 for minor roads and 26 for major in South Fulton.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
there are development specifications that we have to follow for this. The city has it's a unified development code that defines rules for, you can't just go and just make up, a road profile. You got to follow the city standard. And that's what we do. So 50-foot is the question, but again, Mike said 24 feet is paved. So that's a 12-foot driving lane for each car, which is pretty typical. That's what you see out in, your roads. Day in, day out.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Okay.
Oh, I see 3. Let me see. All right. All right. That was a note to me. Any other questions? Well, all right, Mike. Well, thanks for presenting it to us. We
ma'am.
are always supportive of the community the area where you mostly affect, and you are affecting the residents in that area in District 2, even though it's a part of Sandtown. And if they are happy, we are happy. We will support them.
Yes.
So if they're happy, we're happy. And whatever else you need from the association, just let us know. But we'll reach out to them as well. We'll go from there.
Yep. And I know that they still have some discussion points, so we're going to be working through those with them.
Okay.
And I'll make sure to be in communication and keep you apprised and informed.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming. Both, it's
Yes, ma'am.
2
Thank
Mikes,
you.
Mike and Mike.
Yes, that's right. This is a good team. It's a good team. Mike's my guy. He's fantastic.
All right.
I appreciate you all. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye. Let's see. We have Pastor McNary. I'm gonna ask you to go ahead and talk about your event coming up at the church. And after that, we'll have Councilman Rao. And if Councilman Gums is on the line, we'll have her on there as well.
Okay, thank you so much. So excited for this season that we're entering into. Of course, we talk about Thanksgiving and Christmas, and it blends in because it really is a season of thankfulness. And it's a time as we continue to build community in the South Fulton area that we have some longstanding traditions. And some of those traditions will, of course, initiate from different groups within the community and collaborations within the community. This is Christmas is one of those that we are beginning. This year's the inaugural event. And the first event will be coming up this month as a part of that on the Sunday after Thanksgiving. We will be having an official Christmas tree lighting in front of the original church building. This is not just an inside Christmas tree. This is an outside Christmas tree that is being brought in. Other cities and counties, other groups in those counties will be doing their Christmas tree lighting on Thanksgiving Day. And so people will generally have their Thanksgiving and then go to a Christmas tree lighting, or some make multiples of those. This will be one that we are going to be inclusive of others in the community. We even invited the schools, but of course, this is during the time when the schools are not in session. And so some of the core groups were not available to be involved in it. For about an hour to an hour and a half on November the 26th, we will be taking in some hot apple cider, some Christmas cookies, singing and fellowship, and hopefully creating some memories. Just a short time after that, less than 14 days after that, on December the 7th, we'll be hosting a senior citizens holiday meal, a Southern style, delicious food, traditional meal for the seniors that will need to sign in early by either calling the church or emailing their name and their phone number to the church to complete their reservation. And a limited number of meals are even going to be shared with those that are homebound during that time on that same day. That's a Thursday, December the 7th, and it's during the day. The church grounds are being decorated, and that's already started from the back to the front, being decorated, and it's going to be lit in a way that's not been lit before. and we're excited about that. We're excited about being able to put on display Biblical Christmas, being able to put on display an engagement for people to come and interface with, and it will all culminate the week of Christmas, where we're inviting the community again to come and walk through to see the full display and to engage conversations about the various stations and create another community tradition. It'll be being well publicized through media, social media, and then also even through placards and mail cards. And so we're so thankful to be there and to be involved in this activity, and we look forward to it becoming an annual possibility. There is still room for people who would like to serve, to be there, to help, to volunteer to serve. We always are in need of that. And then also by way of any other kinds of support that people want to lend, they can feel free to call directly to the church, or even call me directly on my number, 770-814-1405, with any questions, particularly about the seniors. We want to help to love on them during this season.
Wonderful. Any questions for Pastor McNary about the events at the church? Well, thank you, Pastor McNary.
Thank you.
Councilman Rao, will you give me a second to share my screen so I can
Sure.
talk about, let me see if I can do this. Here we go. Sandtown, can y'all see it?
Yes.
You can see it. So Sandtown Community Association is going to have the coat drive that like we had last year. It's going to be on Saturday, December 2nd from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And it's going to be at Sandtown Crossing. We will have tables set up, and you can drop off coats and hats and gloves for adults and children. This is in partnership with the South Fulton's Fire Marshal. It's called the Sandtown Community Association and City of South Fulton's Fire Marshal Christmas Donation Event. And of course, these are new items. We had some people to bring some used items last year, and we did take them, but we would prefer that you do bring new items for the children and for the donations. And so we'll post this on our website, and hopefully you all can pass the word. And we collected quite a bit last year, and it was a good event. Any questions? Great. I will stop sharing, and Councilman Rao, you're up.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I just have a couple quick updates. One I want to share that has been a hot topic is Merck Miles. One of the things the council was able to do at our last meeting, we approved the contract for Latham Sanitation to operate Merck Miles. The final details of the contract are being finalized, and it is anticipated that the middle of November, it will be permanently opened. The hours, the days of operation will be Tuesday through Saturday. The rate will be $10 for residents for up to $150 pounds of trash being disposed of. So that was one of the things that the city manager worked on to keep the price comparable, but it reduces the amount of waste you can take. But most people fall well within that amount because they're usually just bringing, things from their home. So again, looking forward to Merck Miles opening up. So for those who've had those questions, as you know, Councilwoman Gums just hosted event there this past Saturday. So again, stay tuned. I'll send out the information via my newsletter. In addition, we have saw traction on the gas station, the Quick Trip at Cascade and 285. Quick Trip has begun to do some preliminary site work. So you'll see construction over, probably 6 to 9 months. That has already begun. In addition, on the City of Atlanta side, Rod Design has begun construction of their new facility, which is right across from the Kroger inside the perimeter. And then once they're complete with that, the other 2 gas stations are demolished, and that's where the Aldi's grocery store will go. In addition, the council has approved the construction of the bridge on Fairburn Road heading towards Benjamin Mays, that runs between, Cascade and the entrance of Walmart. So that project has already been approved and
Uh-oh. Councilman Rao, your phone is out. We don't hear you.
okay.
There you go.
What I was saying is you'll see construction on that bridge between Fairburn going towards Benjamin Mays before you get to the entrance of Walmart. Last but not least, you have, for those who traveled along Cascade going to Fort Foot and Industrial, you have about, I'll say, well, it'll be 5 houses under construction. One is currently under construction right past the bridge on the left. And you also saw land near Trammell Crow Park. It is slated for 4 single-family homes to be built along Cascade Road. You may have seen, you probably see the erosion control going on in that area. So that's what's slated to happen. Those are single-family homes, if people have questions. Last but not least, as a follow-up to our town hall meeting with Greystone Power, we got a lot of good feedback based on resident concern about the reliability of their, power out. And so we've been working with Blake Doss, who is the government relations lead for Greystone, and they've been doing trimming all over the area as a result of that meeting. In one of my newsletters, I also asked people to contact me if they were having issues. So even if they didn't attend the meeting, so you probably saw some trimming in the right of way in the area. We're addressing the trees. We had one just fall on Cascade, but I'm sure if you go, you can tell now the trimming that's occurring in the area. They were on Boat Rock. And the city is also doing some trimming. So Greystone is trimming, the city is trimming. They've been doing Boat Rock Road, and Elva Drive is also slated to have some trimming along that area. So those are my main updates. And I guess I'll open it up for questions.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I have a question. I think you said that Latham has a contract for operating the Merck Road landfill, and I know they have it for the bulk waste book that pickup occurs in my neighborhood on the first Monday of each month.
Yep.
How can we find out how much the city is paying Latham for those contracts? And do you have to know how much it is, right? You can tell us now.
Here's a share price. It was included in the link to the city council packet I sent out last Monday. Of course, we voted on those items on that Tuesday. And so I want to say it's less than what we paid before. It's a cost share model, and it's anticipated that it would be about, I think it was, is it 36,000 per month? I think it's 36,000 per month. I think we're right at about $500,000 under the previous model. So it is a reduction in expenditures, and it's a cost share dependent on what they get in from the commercial side. So the price structure, they'll be looking at it, but it is different. But we made sure we kept the price for the residents at the same $10 per load. Again, less weight you can take, but we feel that the majority of residents are going to be bringing less than 150 pounds per load.
Well, don't you think that that's kind of excessive when we are required? We don't have a choice. And like I told you and my councilwoman Gums, I don't have the need for garbage pickup. I don't. But I'm forced to do it. Now, if I have, and they only take 2 items for the book pickup. So if I have a refrigerator or a stove, I have to take that down to the Merck Road. I mean, we are being nickeled and dimed to death. And I started to ask you the question, how do you compare what we are paying to have access to the landfill than other communities? But the fact is that there are very few, if any, landfills that are located in majority neighborhoods in the Atlanta area. So we are just being screwed on all sides. And that is of concern to me. You hope that you'll get better treatment when folks are in charge that look like you, but that is not necessarily the case. Can you explain that to me, please?
Absolutely. I think many of you reached out and expressed concern when we had to take Merck Miles offline to rebid this contract. It had not been bid in 10 years. And one of the things that I heard over and over, that the other options in the area were significantly more expensive. And the reason they're significantly more expensive, because they're not being subsidized by the government in some instances. And so your $10 is absolutely being subsidized, even at the $150 per load of trash that you can take there. I can tell you, I've been in this area about 25 years, and prior to that, I lived in the city of Atlanta. My solid waste fees were higher back then than they are in the city of South Fulton right now.
But frankly, I don't compare myself to the city of Atlanta, because the area that you're talking about, the demographics are probably very much similar to this. But the other areas you could go into, Avalon, up Sanders Spring, Milton, places like that. I seriously doubt that they even have a landfill in the area. And like I said before, if I've got to mandatorily be responsible for the garbage that I don't have, but yet if I happen to have an old TV or 2 or 3 things, I can't leave them out on the curb because they only take 2 things, and they're clear about the square footage they can be. So it looks like you could be paying $100 a month just to get things out off of your property, and to me that is excessive. So I here again, it's back to what I said before. I still don't see a convincing reason for the decision that we have made in terms of the city and the service that are provided. I remember when Fulton County operated Merck Road, you could go down there and take your whatever you had for much less than this. I don't know if we had an option to keep that or not, but this is getting to be terribly expensive.
If I may,
Listen, that's going to be.
Let me jump in.
All the price, can I say this? All the prices in the metro area, I think everybody knows post-pandemic, all costs have increased across the board. What we did is looked at keeping the price the exact same, which is $10 per resident. And we know that the vast majority of residents will not take 150 pounds worth of trash at one time to Merck Miles. Also, I've been paying trash in the area to a private provider, which is not our current provider. I had Waste Industries. I am paying less than I paid prior to us rolling out the new model. That's a fact. and I did not get curbside pickup of any bulk with that. That would have been an additional fee.
Another relevant point is, in order to form a city, you have to provide 3 municipal services. And South Fulton satisfied that with police, fire, and sanitation, which enables us to get local option sales tax dollars. I haven't checked recently, but I want to say it's like $12 million a year or more. Is that right,
Oh,
Kathleen?
it's significantly more than that. You're probably talking about $28 million a year.
Well, all thing I can say about the free municipal services, try calling the police in the middle of the night and see how quickly they get to you, okay? Because
One
what
thing-
I consider to be a quality of life issue, i.e., all this driving up on Eno Road and this racing or whatever it is. If I call for that, I don't get any help for that. When I moved out, you mentioned 25 years in your house. Hell, I've been in mine for 48 years. And I tell you, the quality of life has definitely decreased in that period of time. We have neighborhood schools. I didn't have all this traffic. The day my daughter and I left around 3:45, going over in the what was it, the Boulevard area. You know, the traffic to get out of my driveway, it's just terrible. So for me personally, the quality of my life has degraded.
Well, that
And if
roundabout,
I were
the-
not so darn old, I would be selling my house to get away from here because I'm sick and tired of it. I don't see an improvement at all.
well, ironically, the
And to be
roundabout
forced
that
and
you
to
have,
be forced to
Ivory,
to be forced to participate in the garbage thing when I basically don't. I have to for 2 weeks straight. I haven't had anything to set out in my garbage can because that's not the way I live. When I had newspapers and cardboard, and they say you don't take cardboard, I still take them somewhere else that will take cardboard. So for me personally, there are no benefits, and you don't make an exception for older people. I'm 80 years old. What a 28-year-old person would need and what I would need are maybe totally different. But yet I have to participate in this too, and I don't need it.
Well,
So
I
like
will
I
just
said,
Files will offer enhanced recycling. They will be recycling more than was previously in place to include glass recycling, some other options. Of course, I've shared that in the newsletter. And they will be taking cardboard. So recycling will have expanded options than were previously in place.
didn't we also have a program for seniors, Councilwoman Rowell, for this year?
Yeah. And it was not just seniors. Anybody who met the income guidelines, they could have applied. I sent that information out several times.
well, as my understand, that's only for 1 year. I'm 80. I'll be lucky if I'm here next year. But someone who's 25, 30, 40, hopefully they'll be here more than 1 year. So that still does not address the problem for them. So like I say, I'm not so sure these things are being well thought out. I'm just disappointed. But
Well,
disappointed.
I think what else is happening to you is that we're suffering from growing pains, and the community is growing. It has changed and we're trying to manage the growing pains of where we live. And it's just not with the city of South Fulton, it's with the whole Atlanta Metroplex. Everything is growing. People are coming here, and what we're doing, you're suffering from growing pains, the traffic, the additional communities. It's a lot happening. Sandtown is not like it was when you moved out here, and it's a good thing. There are disappointing parts of it, but it's a good thing because you are at a point in your life that you don't want to be dealing with all the traffic. I get it. So hopefully if you get to the point where you do want to move and downsize and go to a retirement community or what have you, you can get top dollar for your home. And we have to keep that in mind. We want you
80 years old, Deborah, with all due respect, but 80 years old, I don't want to have to uproot because so much undesirable stuff has come to the neighborhood. That is not an option for me.
Well, don't you think it's more desirable things that are coming as
No,
opposed
for me
to
personally,
undesirable?
no, I don't care anything about what is it? What's this coffee place called that you all excited about? Up at the Sandtown crossing. What's the name of it? Starbucks, I think it is. I don't care about that. I don't care about Chipotle. I don't care about any of that.
I will say this, Ivory.
I just want to.
We pretty much understand your concern about sanitation because you've shared that with us for a year and a half, at least, since the program was mentioned. But on another note, you were talking about traffic calming and the inability to get out of your driveway. But the reality is that roundabout that you don't seem to want would slow everyone down and make it easier for you to get out of your driveway.
I'm not so sure that is going, because it would be great if it were to do that. I'm not convinced that it would, because those buses, I don't see them slowing down enough to do that.
Well,
But
if
here
it's
again,
anything, but
we
if
talked
it's
about this
anything
3 or
like
4
Boat
months
Rock,
ago. We
if
talked
it's
about this 3 or
anything like Boat Rock, Ivory, I'm there
It
every
works.
morning with the school buses and they navigate that roundabout just fine.
Yep.
And I get Atlanta school buses and I get Fulton County full school buses. I get them all. And then the trucks, you won't probably have the trucks like I have here at Boat Rock. And everybody navigates that roundabout pretty well. So if it's one that is well done, like the one here at Boat Rock, I think you will see an improvement. I really do.
but do you have a line of cars? Because like when I'm getting ready to go out of my driveway, say if I have an early morning doctor's appointment, or like this afternoon, I was leaving about 3:45. The cars were just, it's almost like in a funeral procession. But far as you could see from my house, looking toward Union Road and looking to the east to Ena Road, nothing but cars.
But no,
And-
I don't have that with the roundabout.
Well, that's
That's my point. And I'm thinking
roundabout, you got to slow up and all to get in. You got to yield too. Maybe you're right, but I don't see that many cars.
But I'm just explaining to you, and where I live right here on Boat Rock, with all the traffic that comes down Camilton Road and that roundabout, it moves it. The only problem that we may have is we'll sit there and everybody wait if we actually have an elderly person that's got to read and figure out how to do it. And everybody just sit there and wait. And we all kind of smile because we know what's going on. And once that person figures out that roundabout, we never have a traffic jam up there.
Let me ask you this. What time in the morning or in the afternoon do you have a lot of traffic? Because personally, I would like to come up there and observe that.
Well, I leave out at 7:15. The buses are there.
Okay.
I come home. I come home at 5. Everybody is going home. It is moving. There is traffic.
Okay, well,
now.
you heard the expression, seeing is believing. So
well, you just drive up here any business time and the traffic is moving. I'm not saying there's not traffic. It is traffic, but we have never got stuck in the roundabout and can't move.
Well, I want to see how many vehicles are lined up like there are on Vanderbilt Road.
You won't see it because you're comparing.
Then if I don't see the same conditions that I'm looking at here, then to compare a Boat Rock is not a valid comparison.
What I'm trying, exactly. Your condition is you don't have a roundabout. My condition,
even if you had one.
Listen, no, you can't. No, Ivory, you're not listening to what I'm. No, Ivory, you're not listening to what I'm saying. I have a roundabout. When I didn't have a roundabout, I had congestion, just like you have congestion. There was a 4-way. People couldn't get on New Hope. People couldn't get on Hamilton Road. People couldn't get on Boat Rock. But when the roundabout came, the traffic flows. And what I'm telling you is you still at first base. You don't have a roundabout. You got traffic issues. But once you get that, but once you, let me finish. Once you get that roundabout, then you're going to experience what I'm experiencing here at Boat Rock. It is going to flow. And you'll have, but you can't compare it now because it's comparing apples to oranges. You're at the first stage. I'm not going to
compare it to what Vanderbilt does not have. The only thing I will be coming to see is looking to see just coming up there and just seeing the cars that are approaching. First of all, is there a line or the cars able to come
And I'm
up there?
telling you, there's never a line.
Okay, I'll come up and see. I will believe when I see.
Because
Okay.
Ivory, it's easier for me to go through the roundabout than try to go up Reynolds Road and get out of there in the afternoon when there's traffic getting off, people getting
Yeah.
off from work.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Now, I go through that all different times. I don't have a
Yep.
particular time, but I can go through that roundabout faster than we could before we had the roundabout right there and had all that four-way traffic blocked there and people trying to make left turn. I would have to admit, it has been a godsend.
Well,
Yep.
that's good. That's what I'm hoping for, because like I said before, I know I've asked for speed, whatever it is on Vanderbilt Road, which has not happened. But yet I go down Wallace Road. The number of times, and I go down Wallace Road often, I have yet to encounter traffic on Wallace Road. So while they have about 4 or 5 different speed bumps, what we call them, to me, I don't know who decided that Wallace Road needed that.
The community and the community
Right.
decides.
And just like you
Yeah.
expressed a concern, Councilwoman Gums has been working, and again, it's resulted in an allocation of over $3 million to address that. That's not a
Right.
new issue. That high school has been on that road for I don't know how long.
60s.
And better planning would have looked at that early on. We're trying to address and correct it now. And we've allocated resources to it.
And Ivory, it took over 20 years for us to get that roundabout down
Yep.
there at New Hope and Boat Rock.
It did.
We've been working on that 20 plus years.
And it's such a success that it's been duplicated on the north side, because I saw that in the AJC. And the community comment was, Sandtown, you're not the only one with a roundabout, and they got the exact same thing. So it's working. This stuff is painful, and you've been a part of the association long enough to know, Ivory, that this stuff doesn't come overnight. But what makes it come is that we stay steadfast and we work on it. You voice your complaints and you work on it, and you continue to do that, and we'll get it done. Hopefully you won't be 100 years old before we get it all done, but we'll get it done.
Well, the other thing is we've had Public Works come to our meetings and explain the process on multiple occasions of getting traffic calming solutions. Enon Road went through that process quite a while ago, and it's being implemented. But basically, the best thing to do is follow up with Public Works. If you speak to Francois Roussan, he can explain the process that you and your neighbors can point out to Public Works.
Yeah. Y'all, it's 8:10. I got 2 people that have had their hands up for quite some time.
Oh, we're sorry.
Miss Steve and Juanita. So whoever has the question, go right ahead.
Miss Juanita had hers up first. I don't know if she still has the question or not, but
Miss Juanita, there you are.
want to go first?
I'm almost scared.
I know.
Don't
I am too.
Don't be afraid.
I'm a newbie to the group. Good evening,
Go right ahead.
But I wanted to say, I also been living here for decades, like Miss Ivory, and I have gone through the horrendous situation that she's going through now at Boat Rock. And I assure her that Boat Rock used to have traffic lined up in all 4 directions. And now we have no traffic at all. The traffic that the roundabout has truly eliminated all the traffic. It flows just like Deborah said. It actually works. I also want to say this about the trash service. It averaged out to about $20 a month.
No, it's more than that. It's more than that.
No. If you divide it up by 12,
$26 and something a month.
no, it's about $19 some change. But if you divide the 233 by 12, but needless to say, $20 a month.
I'm talking about the bill that I got from the tax office.
Well, we
Yes,
all
ma'am.
got the same bill.
But I didn't get a $19 something bill.
That's
No.
it. You got a bill for $233, I think. That's for a year.
It's for a whole year. You
Then you
divide it by
divide that
12.
by 12 and that'll give you your almost $20 a month.
Okay. Which is tremendously reasonable for someone to come
Not
to
if
your
you
home
don't
every
need
week.
it, it's not. If you don't need it, it's not reasonable. That's
Well,
my only point. I
Ivory,
need the horse with
Ivory.
the color.
I don't know a single city in the world that is able to fit what everyone wants, and it's what the majority wants. I mean,
I don't need a school, but I pay taxes for school. It is part of the process that you have to pay into the system. I have no children and I pay school tax religiously for the last decades, okay? With no problem, happy to do it. But that's part of the process, like Harvey was saying. It's the system that we have. But the $20 a month is terribly reasonable for them to come pick up trash. And then to add on top of that, now we have bulk service. I recently purchased a new refrigerator and a washing machine. But when they brought me my new refrigerator, they took the old one with them. So I didn't have to take it to Merck Miles. They took it with them. When they came with the washing machine, they took the old one with them. I didn't have to pay anyone to move the washing machine. So what we have now, we have more for the money. You're paying $20 and getting twice as much for your money now. So I think it's wonderful, the trash service. I know the roundabout is working. And I think if we I think we trust the system and allow it to work. We have the great leadership that we need in District 1 to take care of what we need. So if we just trust the system, we'll get the benefits of it. We're living a dream. I've been over here for decades like you, Miss Ivory, for decades. I know we wasn't getting nothing. I was here. I saw it. So now we are getting things, and I appreciate them for starting our system, creating this city, for working for us. I thank you. That's all I have. Thank you.
Ms. Deed?
Yeah, I just have a quick question for Councilwoman Rao. Back on Merck Road, the recycling, I appreciate her sending out everything, and I saw it about the recycling. I just don't quite understand, is recycling going to still be free, or is it a part of that pricing for the...
Yes. So for the cardboard boxes, we're gonna have that. For the tree clippings, you can take that. That's still free. If you're talking about bulk things like furniture, you will have to pay $10 for up to 150 pounds worth of debris to be discarded.
But like paper, bottles, and all that, that's all.
Glass is free. So
Okay.
again, yeah. So we will have more recycling options than we previously had.
Okay.
All of this is to make it better, more enhanced than what we previously had.
Okay, that's all. That was my only question, was about recycling. Thank you.
Well, y'all, it is 8:15. We have had a lively discussion. We've had a lot of things to go over. We want to remember the Christmas lighting from Pastor McNary on the November 26th. We want to remember, and also the senior holiday meal on December 7th. We want to remember on December 2nd, Saturday from 10 to 1, we'll have the clothing drive at Sandtown Crossing Shopping Center. And I hope between you all have a wonderful holiday. Thanksgiving is right around the corner. Eat a lot, enjoy your families, and we will see you on the first Thursday in December. Y'all take care.
Thank you.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good evening.
Good
evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.